Today I will cover two topics around Rubrik. We're going to take a look at its competition and we're going to take a look at its profitability, do some speculation regarding when they will be positive on the earnings per share basis, because trust me guys, it's coming. Alright, let's get right into the competition part of Rubrik. First of all, what do? Well, they are a backup software. That's it. They're a backup software application. They are taking the most important data that the company has, whether you're talking some sort of database here or you're talking some sort of production application, you're a factory, or perhaps you're a law firm and you're taking the case files, right? You have them in the application. Rubrik writes it to a storage platform. The whole purpose is to be able to recover from a cyber attack, to create resiliency, to create protection, and they do this in a number of different ways. Rubrik is very high-end. They have a lot of functionality. Trust me, I'm in this sector. I sell the storage that sits behind applications like Rubrik. Every day I talk to companies that utilize software just like this, and in many cases Rubrik. We're gonna get into more around this application. So software applications just like Rubrik and Rubrik. What are we talking about here? Well, we can look at the competition. We can look at the entire space. In terms of block and file here, this is a new source around things in the data center. They talk about Cohesity. They bought Veritas. Veritas still exists, although it's being phased out. Veeam, Dell, they have something called Avamar and Networker. They're not really a thing anymore. They don't grow in the software application space, and they haven't done updates to Avamar and Networker, and they're losing market share massively. IBM, TSM, Spectrum Protect, this kind of thing, not really competition either. Commvault, very good application, real competition. That Kaseya, very high end. Competition, very expensive. Rubrik, excellent software. Microsoft, some use cases, they don't compete really with Rubrik directly in the way. In the cloud sense, yes, but on-premise data centers, no. So these are competitors. Can you compare them easily? Yes and no. The most direct competition that I would compare Rubrik to is Commvault, and also in this case Cohesity. Why? Well, because this is more high-end. This is larger enterprise accounts that need all that functionality. Yes, Veeam sometimes are in high-end spaces, although they have a lot of SMB as well, whereas Commvault, Cohesity and Rubrik are more common in the larger enterprises out there. More common. Cohesity, not a publicly traded stock. You can't look at the numbers, you can't compare. I would say that this is the main competition. Cohesity is absolutely massive. They're very popular, just like Rubrik. Very similar in functionality as well. In a lot of instances. Cutthroat competition here. Perhaps we'll see an IPO soon. Who knows? Commvault. They are publicly listed. Also excellent company. And in the space, it's not all or nothing. A lot of companies, they have perhaps both. but for different environments. But Rubrik, they're growing. They are growing. But we can compare, for example, Commvault. We can take a look at quarterly revenue here in thousands of dollars. Total revenue. We can take a look. Just massive, by the way. Market cap first. $8.46 billion for Commvault. They've seen a very nice increase lately. There's a lot of cyber attacks lately. Just look at United Health, a stock that we have covered here on the channel. The big irregularity, however you say that in English, that we see for a year there was due to a cyber attack. And then Rubrik is being valued at twice that, roughly. Does it make sense? Okay, now we get to the revenue. 281 million for the latest quarter. 275 million for the quarter before that. 262 million for the quarter before that. These are good numbers in terms of revenue. Do they justify 8 billion market cap? Absolutely. Let's take a look at Rubrik. Quite the larger revenue numbers here. 886 million in revenue for the latest quarter here in 20. No, this is annual. Let's do this. Yes. Quite a different story. 309 million. All right, for the latest quarter compared to 281 million. These are quite similar numbers. 278, 275, 262, 258. So Commvault had more revenue for this quarter here. But then Rubrik grew larger in terms of total revenue, and they have continued to outpace. So we're seeing higher growth for Rubrik than we're seeing for Commvault. However, on the earnings per share basis, we can see that the cost of revenue here is a lot lower. So on the earnings per share basis, we can see that Commvault is profitable, whereas Rubrik is not. And this comes down to cost, selling, general, and administrative. Massive cost here. They have operating expenses, they have large overhead. In this case, operating expenses greater than total revenue. What's in here? It's commission to salespeople. You don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to change my backup software. That's a huge process. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources for the company. It's definitely not an easy decision. And to help drive that process, you need very competent salespeople that can assist, that can guide the companies. And to be able to recruit and maintain such people, you need to pay out high commission. So this is seen here in operating expenses. Now, I'm certain that Rubrik will become profitable. There's quite an easy tweak. A lot of salespeople are measured on new business, big commission. And then after that, the account gets handed over to support functionality that assists, of course. But from the sales side, something called renewals that just refresh the licenses for the software. And these people are not paid even closely as much as the new business sales reps. So they're growing, they're bringing in new business, this is costing, but then once the business is in place. I haven't heard complaints about Rubrik as a software. The people that I've called, the companies in Sweden that use it, very, very happy. Very large accounts. They're doing a tremendous job, in my opinion. I think they have a fantastic product. No complaints. So when renewals take over that account, this cost will come down. This operating expense will come down. And I know these numbers by heart, so I don't need to look into them, but I remember that they lost a lot of money when they just IPO'd. It was massive, and this loss has come down by a lot. So they're getting towards that profitability stage. And it's only logical that they're moving in that direction. Now, they have the quicker growth in Commvault, but does this justify market cap being almost twice as big? I have to raise a little red flag, a little warning here. What happens when Rubrik has already penetrated all the enterprise accounts? They're not going to go down market, that's for sure. Perhaps growth might slow down a bit, perhaps. Cybersecurity is very hot. There's a lot of attacks going on. It's very expensive for companies. It's definitely a priority, or should be a priority for companies. And then they will spend money on software like Rubrik, like Commvault, like Cohesity. So it's a growing market. The pie keeps getting larger, definitely. However, once they really penetrate everywhere, and profitability comes up, but revenue growth also slows, how will share price react then? Very, very hard to predict. And I don't have a crystal ball. If I had, I would be on a yacht right outside the coast in South America. But twice the market cap of Commvault. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Who is the better player in this case? Both have fantastic software. Rubrik very hot right now. Interesting play on cybersecurity. So profitability, clearly a bullish potential future signal that can send stock price higher, in my opinion. But also more focus on Wall Street on cybersecurity, or as they pitch, cyber resilience. We might see more funds being marketed around cyber defense and cybersecurity, where Wall Street bundle these companies together to sell to investors as a fund, and that demand can also drive price higher. Just like we're seeing with European defense stocks now, where people who missed the boat are just jumping in on them. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. We've covered Rubrik, we've covered competition, and I've talked about where I see profitability going for this fantastic company that's producing a very nice software. That's been it for this video, and as always, hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now. Bye bye.